All right. Welcome everybody to the Lendesk webinar, Advanced Sales, Converting Leads to Business with Lendesk Chief Revenue Officer, Greg Williamson. For those of you on the line who aren't familiar with Lendesk and perhaps came to us through the Finmore Lender Spotlight channels, wanted to give a quick snapshot about who we are. I'm Christina Ray. I'm the marketing director here at Lendesk, and Lendesk is a Canadian technology company that is on a mission to modernize the mortgage industry for mortgage professionals like yourself and lenders. Lendesk has several products, Finmo, Lender Spotlight, Gateway, and we also offer enterprise solutions. Through all of our products, we have over 10,000 unique mortgage brokers, and through our lender network and connections, they have access to over 240 lenders. Lendesk is a SOC 2 compliant company, which just means we hold ourselves accountable to the highest levels of digital and data security standards. We're audited by a third party, and our processes and our practices are reviewed regularly just to make sure that everything we do with our data and our digital practices is compliant. So you might have heard me mention this in the lead up to going live here right now, but this is the most popular webinar by far we've had in a very long time, just based on the registration numbers. And I think when you look at these featured speakers, you can quickly understand why. We have Martin Day here today. He's joining us from Radius Financial, and he'll speak a bit later about what they are doing at Radius Financial and why it would be a great fit for you and your clients. We also have James Loewen on the line. He is the founder of the Loewen Group Mortgage. He's a multiple Mortgage Broker of the Year award winner. And I think everyone, if not all on this line, know his name. He's a big name in the industry, so we're very grateful to have him on the line with us today. We also have Lendesk's very own Chief Revenue Officer, Greg Williamson. He is also a Mortgage Broker of the Year award winner himself. And many of you probably know him as the co-founder of Finmo. So before we get started, a couple quick housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded, and we will be sharing the recording out with you all within a couple business days after this webinar, so you can review it again if you would like. And we'll also be doing a live Q&A at the end, so you can likely see a Q&A widget at the bottom right of your screen. So feel free to enter in your questions, and we'll get to them near the end. So with that, I'm going to pass it over. Greg and James, thank you so much for joining us today. Really looking forward to hearing what insights you have to share with the group.
Thanks, great to be here.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your day. We're going to go through some stuff. Some of it's just going to be riffing. James and I go back a long ways. We've been working together as colleagues, and we're in the same mastermind group for the last, what is it now, 4 or 5 years? So
6 years, yeah.
Yeah, so okay, 6 years. Wow. Okay, time flies. But anyways, so we're going to do some riffing off script, I'm sure, but also James, I want to just kind of kick us right off with, I think what most people are interested in knowing about is, our theme right now is what at Lendesk is what we call be proud of your process. Like really thinking about what is the process that I do. And I think that I was just on a previous webinar, it reminded me, my old, my business partner that many of you also, I think, know, Carter Zimmerman. He told me a quote the other day, and then it came up again on this webinar I was on this morning, where it was like, from Jeff Bezos, which was, he said, look, how do you keep up with all these changes? Like, how do you keep, and he said, it was so cool because he said, it's not about keeping up with the changes. I focus on the things that'll never change. And that was really interesting because in our industry, there's certain things that just will never change. And I think one of those things is that consumers are going to want to have somebody that can help them navigate the crazy amount of choice and things that are available in the marketplace. So mortgage brokers obviously provide that level of confidence for people. And so that'll never change. So as a mortgage broker, how do I develop my process for 2021, particularly where I'm meeting the needs of my customers who want to go digital? So with that, James, let's talk about your process. Like,
Absolutely. And
yeah,
I think you're nailing it right there is, there's been some rhetoric and some joke, like, that eventually like AI is going to replace us. I mean, it's not going to replace, like, it's just not going to happen. Listen, like I could go change my own oil if I really wanted to. Am I going to screw it up? Probably. Would I rather have someone else that's like an expert that actually knows what they're doing? Definitely. And that's why I continue, even though it's, I could probably Google it and buy the stuff online and try to do that way. And that's how I think I view and envision this. And it reminds me, I was chatting with a client yesterday who's coming from the US to Canada. And he says, I've already spoken with CIBC. We're going to do a conventional. It's going to be 1.74. I'm like, that's a great rate. You know what? Let's end the call right now and just take that. I think that's a great option and solution. And he's like, my sister works there. I'm like, then support your sister. That's going to be phenomenal. And his response is, well, she's also leaving and I don't know who I'm going to work with there. And I don't know if they know what they're doing. And honestly, like the rate, even if it's slightly higher, I just really want someone that knows what they're doing and that can walk me through this process from end to end. So it really solidified exactly what you're saying on that side. And it really hammered again and on the process. And I think one of the funny parts for me is I'm sitting here drinking, out of a Loewen Group mug that we now have. It reminds me of 15 years ago when my dad and I sat down. He said, let me pretend to be your client. Now I want you to do something and switch me sides of the table. And we're at my office. So I went and sat on his side of the table. So what I'd encourage you to do is go be your own client. Go be an active participant in your own process. And it's a really hard thing to do for everyone because everyone's so busy. I mean, what does busy mean? It means I prioritize something over this. Something else is more important to me than this. And nothing will be really more this important. So you got to make the time. You got to take the time. And I literally sat on the other side of the desk. Now, you're probably not doing that right now, having people sitting on your desk. But, at the time, I looked at the clutter and the things around me. Did that make me feel good as part of the process? And that clutter could be representative for any part of your process that you have in that office. And when I sat on the other side of the desk, I said, I'd like a coffee and I'd like the coffee to be warm and I want it to be a good coffee. And from there we started, using our Loewen Group mugs, and that began that kind of focus and emphasis on the process side and trying to be a client. And the crazy part and fun part, I think, is people think it's this huge, massive endeavor that's going to take them weeks and weeks and weeks. And I mean, Greg, you've made this joke to me, and there's quite a few different ways of saying this. For me, it was always, how do you eat an elephant? And Greg, you always said, how do you move a boulder, right? And because I've fallen folly to this as well. And the answer is, one bite at a friggin' time, right? You smash that boulder into wee little rocks and you move that one rock at a time. So, start with the first process. Might be your website. You focus on that for 1 week. Focus on how you get an application, how you communicate, how do clients book a call with you? What kind of call technology do you use? How do you click the documents? On and on and on. You might have 40 steps in your process. Great. Do it over 10 months. Do one a week. Right.
I totally agree. And that was such a good insight. I remember when, like, in terms of the process, I mean, listen, you and I have been working on your process, frankly, inside of our mastermind group for 5 years.
I still work on my process. We just booked another call to work on the process next week. I love it now.
Yeah, it always changes. And I think that it's such a good, you're so right about, as a mortgage professional, I need to be looking through the eyes of the customer. And, and I also think we do this when we do beta tests for sure, but I would get somebody I trust that would, and watch over their shoulder, so to speak, get them through my process and hear what they say. Well, geez, this part of the application seems kind of dumb. I don't know the answer to this. I'm stuck now, or I don't know why you're not telling me which documents I need. I mean, you just listen to the customers and listen. I mean, that's such a good sign.
Get the hard feedback, right? It can be you, but like get some really people that you trust, like your best friend, your family member, your drunk aunt that always tells you, how it is, and get them to be critically honest and brutal about what they like and don't like. Because like, yes men or yes women are not going to help you, right? So, and then do it yourself. Be that client.
So that's great. So let's, at a high level, what are sort of the few key stop gaps in terms of your process from I think I might want to get a mortgage to I funded my mortgage? What's the sort of high level pieces of that process?
Well, I mean, it's going to start, I think, from the high level is, that consistency and congruency of messaging. And I mean, I've said this, and I'll probably say it a few times on this call, is how you do anything is how you do everything. And, I want you to think about like when you're in a new province, country, city, wherever, and you're thinking about getting and going for someplace to eat, and it might be you have no idea there's places around to eat, or you have someone that you is recommended, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to Google that place, right? It's going to be the first thing you're going to do. You're going to look at, what are the Google reviews? What's the response looking like? How do these people manage this page? Are they actively involved? And that's something you should be taking a look at, as yourself. From there, it's going to be transitioning, onto your website, right? So if they go and Google you and I see now, okay, I'm going to transition on my website. Has that professionalism consistent and congruent with the messaging and the imaging that I just had when I originally searched you? I made the huge mistake, and will continue to make a ton of mistakes for years, that my website was, for lack of a better description, fig jam, and it stands for F I'm good, just ask me. And all it was bragging about who we are and what we're, how good we were. And I really wasn't taking the opportunity to educate clients on what my process is. We would always say, and I strongly believe this, and I know that each of my team members, also congruently strongly believe in this too, is that we represent our clients' best interests. We always do what's right for them, and we're big educators. All right, we're hand holders. We're not product pushers or sellers. We're opportunity finders and educators. Right? My whole family were going to be teachers, and I was close to being one as well. But my website wasn't really showing that, and it was a stopgap for us, Greg. To your point, where clients would get there, and then all of a sudden they just, okay, well, I guess I have to call. And then from the phone call, I'd have to explain the process and explain how they'd apply online and explain to them that it didn't have to be in person anymore and explain all those things. And it was redundantly repetitive. So if you head to our website now, the process is really big. It's, kind of a 4-stepper. Clients are getting it, and we're stopping that that bottleneck, if you will, like that point where, okay, they can no longer go any further. If the next call to action is a phone call and it's Friday at 11 p.m., then you better damn well pick up your phone, or Saturday or Sunday. I don't like to work weekends anymore. So, I'm not wanting to do that. So, getting to that kind of part of the process. And then, the old way from a company that we won't talk about anymore was this really shitty, non-mobily optimized application that like a 4-year-old looked like it made. And what would happen? Well, they'd apply. So I finally had to get on the call, right? Which I hopefully don't have to do anymore. If I don't. And then they'd apply. And what would happen? Many people are probably in the same process right now. Once they submitted the application, bam, another stopgap, another bottleneck, right? Everything stops right there. Until I got into the application, or another underwriter or salesperson, we didn't know what documents they're going to get in, because we didn't know what type of income they were earning. So we had to wait until we got there. And the clients are just sitting there. And if it's Friday at like 4:55 p.m. and you're not going to start working until Monday at 9, they're just going bazonkers. So that's where, I'm pretty proud to say, like Finmo, like with the auto docs, and the fact that it's like that decisioning tree was pretty much AI to say, all right, so now I don't have to wait for James to call. Now I've submitted my application. Oh crap, I submitted my application. It already knows what documents to get going. Now I've got all weekend or all night or till whenever they want to speak with me. They've got their homework. They can get going on that side. And I don't have to rush to get to doing those applications. So it's taken the burden and stress off me and my team that way. And they know they can just start hammering through that. And, it's already got the auto descriptions, I think, that are built in. And we do a lot of customization just to further add like whatever, frequently asked questions on clients being like, like NOAs, getting the only one page, you need all 3 or whatever. Update those ones, and like, the tips, where to find it, the description. And I've had, Greg, this, pal. I've had ones where clients apply Friday night, Monday morning, full application, all documents. It's click, done. Like it's awesome. So that's really our process from that end to end. And, I have a person on my team that solely is responsible for receiving those applications. And we call her our onboarding concierge expert. That's all her role is. And she confirms the application, works with them if there's any questions on the documents, make sure that we're getting 2019, not 2020, or vice versa, 2020, not 2019, really getting those and getting really the application completed in full. Finmo does a really damn good job. People will still always, scan the back of a pay stub instead of the front, or the wrong year for the taxes, or, do you really need this? Look, those things. So, for me, it's really unique, because it used to be, I'd say confidently process, and then we take tech from that. And now with Finmo having this, tech has now changed our process and created a whole kind of different role. So, from there, once she's got a full application, we use my online schedule, which, if you're not using Schedule Once or Calendly, guys, it took me 2 years to finally adopt that. It is one of the best things I've ever done in my industry. listening and watching Greg pound me on, beat me on the head to take it. I had Dustin, telling me to take it. Finally, I did it, and it's amazing. So, from there, it's all online. It's all focused on education and keeping that flow going, right? Keeping an activity movement so the clients aren't in this like waiting pattern of when the hell am I going to hear from someone next? What the heck's the next step, right? And I want to keep that, I want to think of it like a river that's, just coming in the top and just working down the way at the bottom, as opposed to like a standstill, stagnant lake of stink and suck.
Yeah,
I think a really long answer to a short question, Greg, but
no,
there's no two ways about it.
Oh, it's good. I expected that. I mean, I think I think the takeaway there for the audience is, people think, if I'm going to make an automated process, it's too daunting, too impossible, but it actually isn't. Today, it's easy to do. And I think the other takeaway is that, back to our theme of view it from the eyes of the consumer. I think I see a lot when I'm talking to mortgage professionals about them focusing on how can I make it better for me? How do I make it easier for me? How do I do this for me? And, the irony is that actually when I switch my brain to how do I make it better or easier for my consumer, then it invariably becomes easier for me as the mortgage professional.
And your business will grow. The better you make it for clients, the more the clients are going to tell other clients, and you're going to have more business on that side.
Right.
And I think that was really, Carter was the one that really impactfully imparted that on me and really changed my perspective. UX was never something, I don't think an acronym I'd really heard or used before. And it's really, he slammed that into me, and I'm so glad for that. And the fact that he's actually with you guys as well, like it's huge. It means you'll continue on that same, that journey.
We always say internally that we have a motto called design matters, because it does. And so I would say that the other part of this from a consumer's point of view that I think is interesting is with respect to documents, particularly, but and you mentioned the old way versus the new way. And I think a lot of people who've not yet experienced, say, some smart docs with Finmo, tell them, I think they think, consumers aren't going to submit their documents with the application, but just,
what could be further from the truth.
Yeah.
No, and I think what needs to be reminded here is that you're the industry professional. You're the person that you've got an opportunity to educate and inform and direct how this process is going to go. You can imagine me walking into my dentist's office or to go get surgery and telling the surgeon, like, oh, by the way, this is how I'm gonna operate. This is how we should do this. I'm like, wait, which one of us here has got 15 or 20 years experience and license? Like this, sure, that might have been the old way you did it, but that's not necessarily the best way, right? We've come a long way, in time. And I think that's where your opportunities, if you let them drive the bus based on what their past experience is, that's what they're going to expect. So use your things like, your social media, use your website, use, creating, like, we did quick Loom videos that you'll see on my website. And I did that intentionally. It doesn't have to be, I don't feel, these crazy expensive, production videos, because I think you're showing some sincerity that, like, this is actually me doing the video. This is actually me walking you through how you do this. And once you're setting that stage to say, like, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, here's all these Google reviews that people that have done that. If you follow this, you're going to be 569, right? You're going to be super happy as long as you're following that. So, and then if you're setting the stage to say, like, okay, well, I see you're in Google and you've got a really good platform there and social media. Your website's pretty damn informative and it's educational that way. And now I've gone over, to Finmo, or I've used your Calendly site to book this. They're all professional. They all seem very legit. Like, seems like you really know what you're doing. Little do they know, like, signing up for these things, like, you sign up for Finmo, it's already automated for you. You click one button and the auto docs are turned on. Now you can customize it and go to town, but you don't have to. Like, you're literally just click, and it's, if I could go back, Greg, this is when you and I met. I was, 38, 40 million, and Loewen Group was me. It was one, right? From the cleaning of the toilets to booking to collecting documents to signings, the whole shooting match. And having Finmo to me is kind of similar to some of the lender portals that we had back then. Now it's kind of like having a second employee kind of, engine going, right? Like, it's, when we send out the auto docs, we also set on auto collect. And I love that feature because clients are like, James, like, I keep getting emailed and you're sending me text messages to get this doc. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, like, it stops as soon as you upload that document. Oh, okay. And, they're kind of like, well, and you kind of see it in their face or hear the voice, like, shit, that does kind of make me sound stupid, doesn't it? Like if I wanted something to stop, I could just do the action to which you're requesting. So I love it. And at first we were going to send like every 3 days, and I'm like, send it to them daily. I want to hammer that into them that like I'm gonna be on it like stink, right? So it makes it seem like I've got, you know, an assistant nonstop texting and emailing and following and chasing. And it's really just that, you know, Finmo being our 6th employee for us, maybe even 2.
Okay. Cool.
It's
I
pretty
want
awesome.
to center on something you said earlier that I know has been a new innovation with COVID or newer, but tell people about Loom because I think they really would love it, and particularly on how you created a digital closing and you know, how that process actually works.
Sure.
Use the technology. For those of you, Loom, is it loom.com? Must be loom.com.
I mean, Google Loom, like you can find
Loom.
Yeah.
It's a browser plugin on Chrome, like super easy, free. You can upgrade, but free.
The price is horrible on that thing.
Yeah. And so tell people, because I know that's been a huge, big, not just because, hey, efficiency, we're all looking for that, time saver, but again, meeting the customer where they are. I can't see you anymore. So how can I give you the service that I need to?
Yeah.
Tell us about how you brought Loom in on the closing.
And that, you know, that started for us about 2.5 or so years ago that we started doing that, because, you know, the thing that I have is be impactful without being inconvenient. So, you know, there's a lot of brokers that were always saying like, oh, you have to meet in person. You won't get referrals. You can't create rapport. I mean, I call bullshit. It's a story you were telling yourself, and you haven't stopped telling it. And I mean, hopefully you have by now. And one of the things I still saw, even with some of the clients that were doing virtual signings, is that they do a signing meeting, but they do it still in person, like on a Zoom or such like that. And, you know, one of the things I decided was to beta test. So I'd offer half my clients that, and half I would do a signing package. So, you know, bring up your documents on your screen. I use an iPad Pro now with the fancy pen thing Greg got me sold on this. And I didn't realize, but when you do that, you can then, you know, like circle and highlight. It's the markup tool. You can use your finger too if you don't have huge mittens like me. And you're really walking through the video. Now you can add your face onto that if you want to show your screen on camera or not. And the nice thing I found about that is, instead of me having to have my calendar available and my client available, God forbid they have 2 or 3 other co-signers, you know, or applicants, like we're trying to find a very narrow window. And as I'm sure anyone on this call realizes, I speak incredibly quickly and I mumble and slur. So it's not always the easiest to understand me. So I found this was a bit better of a solution. I said to my clients, hey, how about this? Instead of us meeting in person or doing a Zoom call like this, to which you'll retain maybe about 20% of our conversation. You think about that's 1 in 5 things, and I'm going to go over maybe 50 things. You're going to miss out on a lot of things. Plus, we're going to have to try to find a narrow gap or window, you know, when we're available, or I'm going to have to make myself available evenings and weekends, which I hated doing all the time. So I did a custom signing reference video. So on Loom, hey, Greg, this is James here. You know, this is going to be sent to you in DocuSign. And I walk through, I'd be circling where on the screen, you know, to be paying attention to. You can zoom in if you want on that side. And I say to them, listen, guys, you know, we can do this in person. I will always be available for your emails and calls as well as far as customer service. But I'm going to do this custom reference video. It's going to be 12 minutes. This way, if you guys can't be both together, you can watch it independently. We just solved another solution for you, or problem for you with that solution. If you don't understand something, or I said something too quickly, or you forget that 80%, great. Pause, rewind, rewatch. It's not going to be cinematic like experience like that Titanic, but there's another problem we just solved by that as well. All right. So how would you like that? And the response from people is like, James, like this, I didn't have to drive. Like this is 2 years ago. I didn't have to drive an hour after work in traffic. I'm now hungry, I'm tired, I'm pissed. I probably have kids with me. They're going to destroy my office, or you're going to have to get a babysitter. And then you're going to leave my office with a bunch of papers that you're going to lose, and you're going to forget everything we talked about anyways. Or how about I do this video? And I do the videos sometimes 11 o'clock at night, 3 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. It doesn't matter. You can do 10 of them. You can do 1 day a week where you do all your signing videos and then blast them all out, you know, with your signing. So we're using Finmo's DocuSigns. So we're sending it through there. And then the link to that video can also be in the text message or email that goes out to notify the client. So, you know, that's been one of my favorite adaptations, and it's consistent, right? It's consistent with that online and with the education piece and finding solutions. You know, it all kind of falls in place, and the feedback's just been awesome. So I know that's nothing to do with you guys at Lendesk or Finmo, but you know, I think it's one of those things I want to share in hopes that, the client experience can be better, through a broker than it can through a bank, and that people on this call can also, maybe find a bit more freedom in their own time. Because I think that's often the goal why we work a lot, right? It might be to make millions of dollars. Once you got those millions, the next step is freedom to choose what you do and how you do.
I totally agree. I think when we discovered Be Proud of Your Process as our theme for this quarter, it was around this idea that if I do think about the customer experience, we all know it's a competitive landscape. And in the absence of anything of real value that, if I'm a customer, it doesn't matter what I'm buying, wherever I go to buy something, in the absence of real value. So is the process convenient for me? Is it informative for me? Is it less stressful for me? Those are valuable to me as a customer. And so with the absence of value, I only go to one place, which is price. So if there's no value, or I don't recognize the value of what it is I'm going through, then what's the price? And I'm going to go with the cheapest price, but I'm willing to pay more if all those other intangible things are met. And I think that's why it's important to really be thinking through the process. Best tip, I think, if you leave nothing else for the audience, you go through your own process yourself as a customer, and have trusted advisors do it and listen to what they're saying as they're going through it. So let's move on. You touched on earlier, one of the things, you're, obviously very impressive growth track record over the last little while. You haven't really actually had to grow the team with some of the spurts that you've had. You grew the team at some point, but the last few spurts. And you and I were chatting, and it's not just because you've automated a lot of the process, but you mentioned earlier about the document reminders. And so, let me just touch on it quick so people understand that. I mean, we're going to talk about CRMs here shortly, but something as simple as, James made this, think about the bottlenecks, think about where the process stops. If I'm Henry Ford, I was building a system that would just get a car from here to here without stopping. And so when there's a bottleneck, and there's the classic bottleneck is that documents. It's like, I have to wait till I analyze the documents. Or the other classic bottleneck is continually reminding the customer, and that's human effort. And so we actually end up being able to do more business with the same staff because of that. So what you said it earlier, that's my favorite feature. So tell us about that.
I mean, it's also because, I'll be frank, I've got an incredible team. Loewen Group is a group of us, and I'd give kudos and shout outs to just a phenomenal, family really is kind of like what we've been together for quite a while. We work hard, we play hard together, and that's important too. If you've got a team on that side, I think is the culture set as well. And that you're willing to move, change, adapt, and improve continually. And as long as everyone also believes that, because it can be challenging for some people, understandably, you get in a comfort spot. But I think some of the big variances in what we were finding, I'll tell a quick story that I bet everyone on this call can identify. Client called me, told me they made 50 grand a year, gave them their pre-approval for 250. They bought a 250, had to maybe go firm or not, get their documents in, and the letter of employment says 46,500. I don't know why he rounded up so dang much, but that happens. What happens now? Now you're gonna go scramble back to the lender. Now you're super stressed out. Your support staff, you got to call the lawyer, got to call the lender, got to call the realtor, got to call the client, and you're just, and by having and doing that all up front, and I call it, eat your vegetables first, and then it's all dessert and gravy. And Scotia really as a lender started doing this a while ago. And I remember when they said to me, James, we want all documents up front. I think I held my breath and pouted around my office like a little kid, only to realize shit, maybe they've got one of the best things that's ever happened. And we avoid all that kind of stuff. So having it all up front, not only is it faster, you're gonna have to collect it one way or another, but now you're removing stress. And by not having all those additional potential pieces of information that you didn't know about pop up later, you're also saving a hell of a lot of time, because now you don't have to go back and say, oh, by the way, I found out actually he's contract, not full-time, or now we need NOAs to go back. Now we need, and one of the things we've added that we weren't doing, and I don't know why the hell not, and this is why, anyone that's going through and working on their process, and if you do say one for the next 10 weeks, once you finish at the 10 weeks, go set yourself a reminder and start back up at step one again, because everything's changing, which is exciting. It should be a good thing, that you celebrate. And And one of the parts of the changes we were finding and struggling on, and it's still always gonna be one of those challenging, is down payment, right? People say, I got 120. Is any part of that gift? No. And then you realize, well, money that wasn't yours that goes into your bank account is by definition a gift, right? So, no, it was repayment of a loan that I never had any agreement for. I could say a million stories. I'm sure every other broker and agent on here could as well. And you're preventing, like, my hairline didn't start like this, right? That's from the document collection I wasn't doing up front. That's every single hair that's gone is from that. It's a huge, huge part. So, we weren't doing the full down payment up front because we thought that was too much of an ask of our clients. And I'm sure that's a story that someone might be sitting here watching and thinking, like, it's too much to ask the clients. It's only because you're giving yourself that story. Change the script and say, Mr. Client, you could go with your bank. You went to TD. How was that meeting? It was fine. They gave me $500K pre-approval. Here's my rate. Great. How was the document collection and how was the provision? How was your review of your credit bureau? Tell me about that experience. I didn't give any documents. Oh shit, doesn't that scare the hell out of you? What do you mean that scared me? Well, you haven't get a verified, full pre-approval into that regard. How was it going through your credit bureau? Well, they didn't show me my credit bureau. Do you even know if they pulled your credit bureau? Do you even know if you can actually make a full offer right now? What did they do for you? Good God, that's scary. So I bet you're really happy that you're here in front of me right now, because I'm going to take the time and invest and go through that with you. And you're going to have to provide those documents one way or another. So would you rather do it the old snail way that's unsecure and send it at the back end, risking you not getting the deal and stressing because it's right at the last minute? Or do you want to do it the front end way, the super secure way, convenient way online with our secure portal? And we can have that full conversation. With certainty you can make the offer, and you're going to be my next 5-star Google review, because that's how we do it up in here. And we got the tech to be able to back it. So which one do you want? Right? So now the rate really isn't the biggest thing. And really that you flip that script from them saying it was a benefit. I went to my bank. They didn't have to get me any documents, to holy sweet mother, that is really scary and risky. I'm so sorry to hear that. You must know how dangerous that is, right? And now they've got a new story, and so do you, right? One to which you've taken a potential negative or derogatory scenario and made it now the benefit, the positive, how you add value, right? And that's what I love about having that doc request is just, our rule is we don't do that review until we've got 100% there. This isn't like a grade 9 French exam, right? You don't need 60% to pass. You need 100%. Because when we do our job for you, we also do 100%. We're not going to give you 80%. So we don't do the lender review. We don't do your pre-approval. We don't give you any of those comparative things, which is another Loom video that we do is showing. We use a tool similar to Lendesk, comparing each lender option. You don't get that. You don't get your pre-approval until you have that full documentation, all given, all right up front, and then you book the call, right? So that's kind of your dangling carrot, if you will, that you can't get that until you finish it. So that helps.
Cool. I think that's good. Let's switch gears into CRMs, because I know you and I are pretty well aligned on this idea that, first of all, a couple of things I've always said, I've had, throughout my career at different points, I've been pretty fortunate to do a pretty good size of transactions with my teams. And I know you do as well. And people always say, oh, what CRM do you use? And I'm like, I use the one that I'll use. Like, and frankly, I think there's some definitions here. Like there's really two things that are, and back to, again, what are the things that'll never change? So there's really deal management, and then there's post-funding communication. Yeah. And so CRM is not just this, like this ubiquitous term. And so, you and I have always said that really my number one job, the part that I support my family on is the deal management, getting deals done and not having cancellations and getting paid. And so, I don't want a complex system that's going to do that. And post-funding, I really just need to know, when are my renewals coming up, and some annual reviews and maybe some birthdays. I mean, I don't have to overcomplicate this. So, but what do you use?
Keep, the KISS theorem, right? Keep it simple, stupid. I was on a search, and I was going deep into technology, and I was trying to find that. I knew that one-stop shop. And the only thing I learned after trying forever to do that was, I've heard it called, and I think it's a good one, is that silo technique, right? So kind of having, this is my website service provider. This is my onboarding and application or document. This is my deal flow working. This is my post funding. This is my email campaign. And I like to have a plug kind of for each one of those. So if, my CRM for contact management isn't working, I unplug that, put in the next one. If my deal flow isn't working, I take that one out and put it in. I don't want to have everything ingrained and stuck into one platform, contrary to what I thought, because then it's really hard to leave or to change, right? And to improve. Yeah. So from my perspective, from the website, it's Finmo for the application, for the document collection, notification side. And once it goes from there, we use, Zapier as a common tool. Everyone should know that goes into our pipe drive. Pipe drive is then our deal flow. We went really deep, Greg, as you know, with Pipedrive, trying to get in a lot of automated zaps and having that go to our CRM, and you can use MailChimp, InContact, or, there's tons of different ones. They all integrate beautifully between Finmo and Pipedrive and Zapier and the CRM for email. So, but what I started finding was over automation, it's in personalization. It's not the way I wanted to go, really. And the more I automated that side, the less it felt human. And, try as we may, and as good as we made it, you always, and I think, everyone used Butterfly or something like that, Shutterfly, clients would still know. And there would always be a big difference, between a brand new email saying like, hey, I'm checking in on this process and this side. And on the bottom, it'd have that little unsubscribe, even though it was gray, versus responding to a previous email, thread that you had saying, hey, John, it's been 4 weeks. Just want to check in, man. How's it going? You can always reach out to me. You've got my calendar schedule, but I still just wanted to take that time and create this moment. And so we kind of went really deep in automation. And on that side, on the workflow, we've kind of backed it a little bit out, which is still what I liked with the Finmo side, because there's, when there's documents required, it's pre-scripted, it's pre-populated, but then we just add a little like, hope you're enjoying this -32 weather, right? So then they know, oh, this shit's not automated. This is a real person. And I think that those little moments are great from that side.
Yeah, there we go again. It's really thinking about it from the customer's eyes. And I think that's important. Customers don't care that you have some well thought out, something you've spent 40 hours building some kind of fully automated solution that's going to do a bunch of things for them. They just care about, do I get the information I need? Is it going smoothly? And am I getting approved? And and that's the core where I should be focused my time. I think you and I have been well aligned on that for a long time. So
yeah, it's not to say don't do nothing, right? Like and I had Barb Morgan, 16 years ago say, if you take care of your data set will take care of you. And it's totally true, right? You think of a farmer in that regard, and you got a farm. So, like you just said, like anniversary, send out some happy birthdays. It sounds stupid, but like every one of my clients, I send a personal Facebook request. And Greg, you know me on Facebook as well. I love dad jokes. I love saying stupid things and funny humor and all that. Like, this is just me. And so, I add all my clients as personal because I want to see what's going on in their life. And they want to, I think, it lets them see what's going on in my life. And I know people will have like, this is my business profile, my personal profile, and then I have my restricted profile there too. I know if I'm on a restricted profile, I know that you decided that we're not really going to be genuine enough. Like, either you're posting pictures of something I am not supposed to be able to see online, which you probably shouldn't do anyways, or you don't think that you're not that genuine of enough person, is what I feel, that we should really be actual friends. So I would encourage you, and this is how I feel, is to have a profile that's genuine, that's you. Speak with clients exactly how you do. Like, this is how I dress. This is how I talk with Greg, my wife, my kids, my clients, with everyone. I've got a low filter, a no filter, as I'm sure Greg would say. And have that and open that up. That is now basically a free CRM that you never paid for. That clients can be like, when they get that email in 5 years, you might not have called them or emailed them yourself in 5 years, but like, hey man, like, I see how your kid's doing. I know you got 2 kids now. I see that that you've been up north. I see that you've been fishing, right? It creates that connection, and you've done nothing really except just be yourself, doing what you would have done anyway. So again, nothing really to do with Fim on that side, but that's something that I feel and I wish I had known a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks. Let's, I'm going to switch gears into, there we go. Let's talk a little bit about the sales process. Like, actually, when I get down belly to belly, and I'm going to chat a little bit, and then you can kind of intersperse the things that you've learned. I know you and I have worked on this together in your business for quite some time, along with the rest of our colleagues in our mastermind group. But I would say that, I've always tried to make this, keep it simple. Like, it's a theme that you'll see that obviously I believe in. But there's really, in my view, right, two core parts of my sales process, from the time that the customer says, I think I might want to get a mortgage with you, until the time that they've chosen me and I'm getting it funded and I'm, working through that first part, getting the sale, getting the win. There's really, in my view, two pieces, and you got to be flexible and interchangeable in today's world. But I've always, in fact, selling technology, frankly, selling anything, I use the same process, which is there's always a discovery call and then there's a strategy session.
Yeah.
And so the discovery call is it could go a lot of different ways. It might be that realtor sends me a customer's name and says, hey, call this person. They want to talk to you. Or it could be that they call me, or it could be that I get an email and whatever it might be, that first communication with the customers. And I've tweaked this a little bit too, to send out a templated email so that I'm trying to get the customer to do my application, because I know I'll get smart docs too before the discovery call, which then sort of moves it into a strategy session. But I'll talk about that. But I mean, that's a new development that's been shortens things up. And there's no question. The best, if I'm going to go into a sale and I have the application, the consentable credit, and most of the core documents before we ever talk, I have a significant advantage because I know more. I know more about what I need, and I know how to angle. So on the discovery call, there's really three components. Make it simple. I've heard lots of stories where people say, my first discovery call, my first conversation with a client is 45 minutes long. And the immediate thing I think of is the customer is looking for sharp objects or a pen to stab it in their neck because they want this to be done. And so I think a discovery call really should go 10 to 15 minutes, like sort of maximum. And it's simple. Like, I really need to know three things. One, is there even a deal here to be had? I can ask a few questions up front to know, with my experience level, is there a deal here? Like, I don't want to waste my time or your time. The second piece of this discovery process is, who am I competing with? I want to know that as early in the process as I possibly can, because when I get down to my strategy session, when I'm comparing products, I'm going to compare them against the lender that I'm competing with. And so I think that, and then the third piece, really simple, enroll them in the next part of my sales process. So that's it. Don't, the customer doesn't want to be on, here's the value proposition. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to show you, a strategy report, which I'm going to show you right now. And so that's it. And the only other thing that, as I said earlier, that has changed that slightly is if I can get the customer to do the application, the documents before we talk on the discovery call. Sometimes they do. Lately, most times they do, because I think customers are starting to get trained to get that part done, which does make it different. But with that said, tell me, I know this was fun. Tell me your favorite story that.
Well, listen, Greg, you know this. Like, right away, you're going to have, and I bet every agent and broker on here has done this. Hey, I want to know what your best rate is. And you're sitting there with no pre-work, no application, no income, no credit, no nothing. And you spend half an hour going through your whatever your value story is and talking about rate buy downs and everything like that. And you get the application and it's a 531 beacon score and it's a business for sale for like 8 months. And you're sitting there going like, why did I just spend that whole time talking in circles about that? We weren't even having the right conversation, right? And I think it goes back to, set the tone as to how the process is going to be and what they're going to be following and doing.
Exactly.
And getting to that next action piece. And the nervousness I would have, right? Like years ago, going on a call being like, I don't know what they're going to ask me for. I don't know what they're going to need. I don't know what the rate's going to be. I'm going to have to know rates like off the bat. I mean, thankfully now you got Lendesk for that, but it can have some trepidation, like a little, and people always say, like, someone just commented, rate shoppers are on the prowl. You think that's ever going to change? Do you think that's ever been different into the future? So, like having a tool like this to say, listen, this is a discovery call. I just wanted to know, like, are you looking to buy, refinance, purchase? Where are you thinking? Who sent you over here? Have you taken a look at our process? If not, let's go through it. Great. That's what this call is going to be about. We're not going to get into the rates and the nitty gritties because I don't know enough information to give you that. And I always make the reference to a doctor. Like, you can't just walk into a doctor's office and be like, what's your best prescription for me? Like, what's the cheapest prescription cost? Like, if I don't know every single detail about you, your history, your medical ailments, and I give you the wrong prescription, I'm going to kill you. And the same thing with me. Like, I can't, as a broker, tell you what rates I'm going to give you. Like, what's the point of me offering you, 159 if you're looking for a refinance that's not going to work, that, or you're going to be with a B lender, or it's a rental property or whatever. I need full information, and this is the process that I'm going to invest in you to be able to do that. And then we'll do this lender comparison model here, and I'll show you the pros and cons, because we've talked about this as well. I love eating great food. I put the camera down, you can damn well tell it. And the best steak I've had, the best car I've driven, the best vacation I've taken, sure as shit was not the cheapest one, or even close to. So, Mr. Client, and this is usually what I say, like, listen, I'm going to do this rate comparison here because I've got access to the cheapest of the cheap to the highest of the high. You might be Starbucks, you might be Tim Hortons, you might be McDonald's, you might be gas station coffee, and I don't even know if I put those in the right order. And I've got access to all of them, and I'm going to be paid the same. But you need to know, and you need to make an educated decision as to which one you truly want. Sometimes, and some clients are in gas station coffee people. Cool, that's good, go for it. But you need to be informed when you're making that decision. And all you probably know, and it's no fault of your own, is that 2 is less than 3. So why don't I take you through the other 13 criteria that we use to analyze and educate our clients on the mortgage, and then you decide what rate you want. It might be the cheapest, it might not be, but at least you'll find out now, as opposed to later when it's too damn late. You find out you're with a monoline lender that doesn't allow a blend on the refinance. You're gonna have to pay a breakage and lose that rate. You can't port the mortgage. You have a bona fide sale clause. All these things I'm saying, you probably don't know what they mean, but I do. I'm the professional. Here's my process. And here's what you're gonna get once we complete that, is a custom report just for you. And that's what we're gonna give back. Oh, okay, yeah, sounds good. And that's how, that's how myself and my team have and will continue to address and try to add that value. Because you either got to be the cheapest or the best. And I don't want to be cheapest. It's a horrible race to be in. And that's why I like tools like these.
Yeah, I think that's good. Discovery call. Never, ever, 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 ever give a, never take the customers you into competing. One of my favorite lines is, whatever's in my head will come out of my prospect's mouth.
Yeah.
Which means that if I'm thinking that they're going to ask me about rate, then they are going to ask me about rate. And so we never ever get to that. When they start asking rate, flip the script. I go to, well, tell me what you got, and they always do. Well, I'm with TD and they told me that. I'm going to compare the odds that are available in our marketplace, and I'm going to wait, it says I'm unstable. Are you still hearing me okay?
Yeah,
it says I'm unstable. My internet's unstable.
I'm actually unstable. It was right the first time.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's go into the strategy session. So at the strategy session, this is the thing that slays all the time. Remember what I promised. Remember who I said I was. I said I was a mortgage broker. That meant I said that I have choice. I have options. And so I ought to show customers that. Easily the best thing that's available right now. Customers love it. Bring them into a scenario where they can see relative options. I think too often mortgage professionals, mortgage brokers, that they get to the point of the offer and they show one offer. And so then the customer's like, I thought you were a broker. I thought you had access to, why are you not showing me the other options? Are you not showing me the other options because there's something in it for you, or what's going on here? And so now they're not saying this out loud, but I think that some customers might be thinking it. And so let me show you something that we've done, which I think is really cool. So this is obviously Finmo. This is a new feature that we've recently done. And one of the things I like too, this is, you can pull this right out of the gate and just kind of a bird's eye view of all of the settings that I might have. But this thing over here, find products. As soon as I click that, it's going to tell me, okay, the borrower speaking score is 845. It's a switch transfer. Here's the value. These are all and then I click find available products. It's going to open up my Lender Spotlight, account. And right away, it's got all of those parameters that I just said from the Finmo application that's built in. I want to see 5-year fixed mortgages. And so here I am looking at it. I'm going, oh, okay. Cool. Well, look at this. Radius Financial. What an awesome rate. Okay, great. Well, here's my 5-year fix, and I'm going to add this to my card that I'm going to review. And then let's say that I know that I want to try to sell them radius, but I need to offer other choices. So, maybe I'm going to throw this one in, and I got a 5-year fixed here. I'm going to throw that onto the cards. And then I want to, take a look at, maybe they told me that they were shopping with ATB. So I'm going to add ATB to it because I want to be able to sell off of this. And so I need to be able to add that to my cards. And then I can add in with this particular feature, I can add on any up to 5 different cards. And so here I am now, I'm going to put this one on, and now I go back, and I can go now and take a look at, well, I want to compare these 4 products. It builds me a sheet. Now I can go, this would be the thing I would do on Loom. This would be the thing that I could do on a live webinar with a customer, go over each of the different features, but I'm showing that I'm a professional. I'm showing that I have option. I'm showing that I've researched. The truth is, I just did that in 1.5 minutes. It's easy to do. And so, and then key, if I'm competing against a bank, I want to highlight the penalties. I want to highlight the different, you said blend and extend, point some doubt. One of my other favorite lines is I'm always poking my finger in the eye of my competition. Just make it a bit annoying. And then they're going to pick the one that I wanted them to pick. And in this case, and boom, case closed, deal sold. We're moving on to the next phase in the process. So I know you do the same type of thing. Anything I missed in terms of?
No, I mean, like you said it right there. And I think the key thing that, that we've gone through with some, with having staff members join and such as well, is really hammering in this point here. Because if you present, and let's be honest, I'm sure there's quite a few people on here, I used to do as well, that present just one option, because we know what the best option is. But if you don't show these comparisons and the research, your client's going to research. And where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go right online. And the first thing they're going to search is, what's the cheapest mortgage rate? Bing. And now your job probably just got a lot longer and a lot harder than that 2 minutes it just took you right there. So, when I'm doing these comparisons, you already touched on them. I just want to reiterate a few key things that we learned over there. Always, always, always ask a question. You taught me this, Greg. Tell me about the process you've done thus far in your mortgage education, shopping, or whatever you want to call, right? That one question, then shut up. Oh, I've already gone to TD. I've spoken to these other 2 mortgage brokers. Holy shit. I really need to know that, right? Are there any lenders that you love? Any lenders that you hate? And you might get someone being like, I really want to be with one of the major 5 institutions. Well, if you don't address that, you don't include it on this report, you're going to be talking to a wall, right? You're not hearing it. You're not getting it. Yeah. And if they say they've been to any lenders or existing banks or with, you already said this, I always include it in here so that I can just poke the hell out of it. And then like anything, think of a bar you've been to that sells a $60 scotch. How do you sell a $60 scotch? You include a $90 scotch and you include a $30 scotch. Nobody wants to be the pretentious guy wasting money, and no one usually wants to be the cheap ass, right? And they'll usually find that sweet spot, which I call value, right? Something that's of good price, but then still has good options and features and such that we want available. So if I'm doing something like this, maybe I'll include, a lender that has a lower rate buy down option, your value flexes, your low rate options, every lender's got something like that. And I'll include that in there to show, look, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client, I've got a cheaper option. Here's what the drawbacks are. Here's the cheaper stakes of that one. Here's your midpoints, and then here's our more expensive ones, right? This is where I think you should be finding and following. All right, now I don't have to go online and try to find, where to go, which is not only going to cause more work for me, to try to explain, I don't have to name all the lenders in Canada that we have and brokerages that do that, but save yourself that trouble and show them the research and save them that upfront.
Yeah. This gets me to be able to sell products that are 5 basis points higher than what they've said before, or 10 basis points higher, because without having to cut commission, without having to drop, because I provide more hey, great, your local 5 bank is going to do a cheaper rate by 5 basis points. Man, it's only $4 a month. How important is that to you when you can see that the potential penalty on this particular lender is going to be $17,000, whereas with the lender that I have, it's going to be $3,000.
So, and I think people think that 0.05% is like $1,000 a month.
Yeah, I remember.
Right, that's a common, because they don't know who can do a mortgage calculator in your head that fast. Like even I can't, right? So sure as shit, they're not going to realize it.
Yeah. One of the things I always said is a picture is worth 1,000 words. And this is the picture. Like I need to show people. I know lots of mortgage professionals are on the phone telling people this. A lot of people don't learn that way. I need to see it. And if I can have it on a Loom video, I can keep reviewing it. Like, how many times have you sent out a strategy session Loom video and then look and it's been viewed 32 times?
It's true.
They keep coming back.
I really like this one as well because it's Mr. Client, here's some options. I'm going to give you the pros and cons of each of them. They're on this report. Ours is very, very similar to this. We used to use Excel before this, so God love, that was way faster. And what I'm doing is I'm empowering the client as well to make the decision, so they are making the choice. So now they have made a commitment. Then I go get my approval, i.e. our commitment. So I'm not spraying it to 5 different lenders to get approvals and then sending them the 5 different approvals. They're going to feel like they're autistic with how, 5 different mortgage commitments. It's a lot of information. Your lenders are going to be pissed because you're only funding them 20% of them. And when they're the ones, when they see something like this, because here's another story I bet everyone can identify with. And Greg, you'll remember this. I've already got my mortgage, and then isn't it ironic? It's called a reticulated activator. As soon as you're getting a mortgage, isn't it weird how all your friends are now getting mortgages? All you hear and see is getting mortgages. And then they start saying, well, I'm getting this rate, you're getting this rate, I should get this rate, go meet with my guy. If you've done this properly, what we find is, Greg, you're getting a mortgage? Well, my buddy got 164. What are you getting? I'm getting 174. What do you mean you get 164? I better come speak to your guy. Whereas if you're arming your client with this, you're like, oh, yes, I'm actually aware of the 164, the 154. That's with a discount lender. That actually has a bona fide sale clause. That actually can't be refinanced and blend. That actually can't go to uninsurable. I know the breakage penalty on that is 6 times as higher. I'm very aware of that. And actually, your friend could have got even lower with Loewen Group. But I chose differently because that is a shit mortgage, or an inferior product, sorry. and you've empowered them with that. So now no longer do they need to speak with your guy. Your guy should probably come speak with me. And like this little thing has made such a big difference on that. And showing clients, I always show clients, yes, there's going to be something cheaper. I don't want it to be, ignorant to that fact. And I want to empower them to see why they're not taking that. And I want them to choose. And they might choose it, but it's pretty rare.
So yeah, so just to summarize, like, compare and share, why I want to do that, pull it from Finmo, is that it helps me in the discovery call get off of rate, because what's your rate will be, yeah, I'm gonna show you all that, but I'm gonna do some exhaustive research, and I'm gonna give you lots of options so that you can compare against the ones you have already. I don't answer the question about rate. Once I get into the strategy session, in this example, well, I want to give the mortgage to Radius. I know that that's the best choice, and so we'll look at my screen. I've now just highlighted that Radius is the best rate, but then I'm going to also go through on all the other points that are going to be important to that customer. And I sell them off of, if they were with ATB in the example I gave you, it's like, it's going to be pretty obvious to them that they're not going to do their mortgage with ATB. They're going to do their mortgage with Radius, and it's going to be with me. And that's how you just, so simple, just like close people. And so I really wanted to make sure now, speaking of Radius, Martin, let's bring you in now, and let me go back to the presentation. Let's hear a little bit more about what you got in store for us as our sponsor.
Perfect. No, appreciate. Can everybody hear me? You guys can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect.
You bet.
No, appreciate it. Thanks, Greg. And again, thank you to Lendesk for allowing Radius the opportunity to speak with you all here today. Very good information from both James and Greg, as we heard them speak about tools available on a broker side. It's always nice from a lender to know what goes on a broker side, because hopefully we could take some of that stuff, your challenges, and turn it into a positive and help make your experience better. So whether it's your broker experience or the client service experience, it's nice to see that information, and then hopefully we can translate it into a final product and overall good experience. So it's also we hope that a lender like Radius Financial can better improve all of that. So the question that we get a lot is, why partner with Radius? That's the first thing. Why should a broker deal, or why should we send a client to you guys? So we'll go through some of the things where we can help you as a broker. We know there are many lender options available to the broker network. I think it's very important to know all your lenders and know what they're good at, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses. So it's good information to know and do your research on all the lenders. Again, like Greg and James point out, hey, we want to show you what's out there, and then hopefully you're helping the client decide what product is best for them. So let's get into a little bit why it's the right choice for you and your client. So we are currently a small, like boutique kind of lender. We're geared towards a first-time home buyer, clients with less than 20% down payment, and we are focusing on insured or insurable loans. So we may not have all the products available at the moment, but we are certainly working on the back end. We're trying to find ways to improve on our products and offer more products. So something to look forward to. And watch for news announcements and anything that we might have coming out in the future. So let's. One of the biggest conversation topics is again rates. So we're competitive over the past year. We've been as good as any with regards to rates. And the reason for that is that we have our funding capital that is based through the MBS, CMB. We are smaller lender, agile lender, where we don't have as much overhead costs as some of the other lenders. All that allows us to kind of pass on the savings to your clients. So we do offer very good competitive rates. As you saw in the demo from Greg, we do have a pretty good quick close promos. Some more information about that, feel free to reach out to us with regards to rate announcements. And rate sheets. Another point that brokers like to look at is compensation. The way we like to look at things is that we are consistent and transparent when it comes to how we pay our broker partners. And our comp is on our rate sheets for that reason, because we want our broker partners to know what everybody's getting out there. So the model that we're trying to show everybody is that it doesn't matter how much volume you do, whether you've sent this as your first year of 2021 or whether you're in your 100th deal of 2021. We want to be able to comp everybody the same and have everybody the opportunity to send in a deal to us. And we want to win your business. So it doesn't matter if you're a veteran or you're a newbie into the industry, we want to earn your business. So that's a little bit about. We also have, people don't know too much about this, but we also have kind of two options. We have the full comp model up front, and we also have a renewal model for those who like a trailer fee model, lower comp up front. And then we also have the renewal options upon maturity. So those are the two biggest questions that we ask from the brokers is with regards to rates and compensations. Then we get into the mortgage features. So what kind of mortgage features do you have? Well, we are a monoline. We do have a standard charge mortgage. It's not a collateral charge. We have similar prepayment privileges to other monolines, such as the 2020 prepayment privileges. Right now, we don't have a firm sale clause to break that mortgage. We do have favorable IRD penalties on fixed rate mortgages. That cost your clients less money than if they were to go to the bank. Another good tool that we have is if you visit our website, we have an online IRD calculator. So you guys can play around with that to see what the IRD penalty will be. Also that we have, our mortgages are assumable, portable, and transferable. So those are the standard questions with regards to what's in your mortgage, right? Again, there's nothing hidden in our mortgages. It's a pretty standard monoline product. What sets us apart is our service. We have a central point of contact. We have manager broker of accounts. They essentially act as your BDM, your underwriter, your fulfillment. All our broker manager accounts have 10 years of underwriter experience, so they are well seasoned. This is on the broker side. This is not just from a bank level, and now they're jumped onto the broker side. These are seasoned, experienced underwriters from the broker channel, which helps. And as James touched on earlier, he likes the model, the upfront model, where documentations are upfront. We believe in that model, so we ask for documentation upfront. Now, we won't promise a 2-hour turnaround. James likes that one. We won't promise a 2-hour turnaround time, but we will promise that we will look at your documents at time of adjudication, and we will check off those conditions. So what's going to happen is, that you guys are going to get a cleaner commitment. So all those documentation were that the client provided to you guys. You could present them with a commitment, say, hey, you did an employment letter, MLS, offer to purchase, all these things are checked off. And you don't have no commitment. You have a commitment that's going to pretty much ask you for, hey, can I get my signed commitment back? Can I get my void check for mortgage payment and down payment? That's one that we don't ask for upfront because we know people have to still accumulate it closer to closing. It's a nice to have. If you have it up front, send it in. You're going to get a cleaner commitment. And I always often ask brokers, how is that experience? Do you enjoy it? And a lot of brokers, what they say is that they say, I don't mind waiting the extra day to know that my documents that I sent in have been reviewed and have been checked off. The worst thing is that I don't know where the documents are now. It went from underwriter to fulfillment, and they don't know where it is. And they're waiting, a couple of days, getting closer to closing, and all of a sudden they're like, wait, I need documentation. But I sent that in at the beginning, that commitment. So that's where we kind of strive is we don't want to promise you're going to get a commitment in those 2 hours, but we will promise you'll get a better service for your clients where you can go back to your clients in a day and say, hey, this is all that we need left. They reviewed this. This is what's outstanding. So that goes a long way with brokers trying to sell clients to Radius, and as long as making it easier for themselves. We want to help our broker partners, and again, we want to win that next deal. In addition to manager of broker accounts, which is your dedicated underwriting personnel, we have a broker relationship manager. They help onboard new broker partners. They also help with non-credit questions. If you have credit questions, feel free to reach out to your manager of broker accounts. So you have multiple point of contacts, and you have my contact as well, that if you have any questions regarding anything from start to finish, post-fund, I am also available to answer any of your questions. We have all our information is on that the PowerPoint presentation. Feel free to reach out to anybody if you have any questions.
Cool. Great. Thanks, Martin. Listen, I can tell you from my experience that it's the biggest pain in the butt. And so now when you're out doing your work and working with your colleague, if you find out that a broker is using Finmo, this is a big point for you, because here's the truth. As we talked about earlier, we get all the documents more than often up front and we're submitting them. And I'll tell you what, it drives me bananas that I get a commitment back with all the conditions on there for the thing that I already sent. It's the worst thing. I literally go nuts. And because I have to send that to the customer, and now the customer is saying, I already gave you those things. And like, dude, this is like, I don't know why the lenders haven't figured this out. Just goddamn, make the commitments clean. Like, come on. Like, oh man.
The thing is, you're making the credit teams much easier and their job much easier by checking it off early. Like, you could spend the time looking at the documents. Okay, you're adjudicating the file, and then you're like, oh wait, I gotta look at the documents again. Well, you're defeating you're doing double the work. So model of, if you just send in all the docs up front and you work on it as you're adjudicating the loan, you're saving so much time. Yeah, it might take you a little bit longer to go through all the documents as an underwriter. You're not going to get to it as that much faster than with no documents, but you also know what you're doing with regards to the file. And that it's always better to pick up the phone and have that conversation with the broker up front. And hey, let me understand this deal. I got all the documentation. Help me connect the dots over here. It's not black. Underwriting is not black and white. And people need to understand that the more information we have up front is will give you a better service. We'll help you. We want to help you fund the deal. But if we don't know the story up until the end, then there's a lot of gray that happens in between and then trying to restructure the loan because pieces are coming in a little bit, and it changes the story and the file completely. So the more information you have, it just makes it a lot more smoother for everybody, for even the underwriters, even for credit team.
Cool. Well, that's really great. You had me at clean commitment. So here we have it. Low rates. Yeah. We saw that already. Favorable penalties, clean commitments, dedicated managers. I mean, listen, audience, I think we should give them, give Radius a shot. So Christina, I'm going to pass it back over to you to monitor off the questions and anything that we've got from a Q&A for the audience. I mean, we're slightly over time, but we didn't really set a time. When James and I go, we could go for hours, but you know, the Q&A is a little bit sort of like Bill Maher after hours. So you never know what might come out of James's mouth. So I mean, stick around. But anyway, Christina, let's handle the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Greg. One of the questions I did get, as Greg alluded to, please stick around if you're able to, but it is being recorded and we will distribute this out to everyone. So just keep that in mind. Tons of questions coming in, which is really great to see. Martin, I might pass one over to you first. Does Radius lend to self-employed, new to Canada, commissioned clients?
Good question. We get a lot of questions. At the moment, we don't offer a new to Canada program at the moment. In the near future, we are looking to expand on our credit products. So new to Canada's stated income is not something that we're able to do right now, but it is something that we're thinking of in the back end and trying to find ways where we're able to offer it. So at the moment, not something that we're able to do. Again, we're more of a boutique lender. I would say cookie cutter lender. That's because of the low rates that we're offering. That's kind of our target right now. But as we grow, we're looking to offer and open it up to more products.
Brilliant.
And in fairness to you, that's a really difficult because you're combining two product and programs, right? Like a new to Canada, program and a commission program. If they're talking about, the stated income program, like those are two that really no lender can combine. So just in fairness to you, like that, that would be a very unique, solution and deal. If that's what they're talking. If they're talking about commission clients that are 2 years T1s, line 150 qualifying income, okay, that's different. But if you're talking about a stated commission, good God, dang, that's a hard one.
Yeah. And Martin, another quick follow-up came just through on that. Does Radius lend in the Maritimes?
Yes, we do. We lend across Canada. The only place that we don't currently lend in is Quebec, but we do lend all across the country other than that.
Great. A question came in that was for you, James, and I see you already answered it, but I always hear variations of this question. So I'd love to just vocalize it once again for this group. And that is, how do you overcome a situation where a borrower who at the beginning of the process was receptive, doing all the work, client declines to review a commitment and stops communicating?
Yeah, I think that's, I'll start off by with what I kind of finished is you're never going to win them all, right? Even the best, teams in the world, Maple Leafs, don't win every, game, right? So don't get started. It'd be amazing. I'm never going to sit here and pretentiously say I bat 1,000. It's just impossible. I don't think you can win every single one. So, but what I do think is it's an opportunity. When people say I've got a problem, it's colloquial, but it's like you almost got an opportunity, right, to learn and to review your process. And I think that's where there might be a faulty in there. Did you explain to them that, and Greg was great as a coach and a trainer to set the precedence of what is going to be operating, what's the agenda of this call? Okay, this call is just going to be a discovery call. We're not going to be talking about rates to this point. And educate them as to why you're not going to give rates. Why is that dangerous? What's the story that they should now have instead of just being like, all I want is a rate. I'm not getting off this call unless I got a rate. I'm not chatting with you again. And setting a precedence to say like the agenda of this call is this, 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 and this. On the next one is when we're going to be doing this lender comparison. On our website, you can see a Loom video as to an example, lender comparison that's available that will be customized to you, and setting that process and education. I think where we've had issues or problems is because there's, and I try to say like, Dustin said this online about a month or two ago, everything is my fault, right? If there's a problem or if something failed, the easy one is, this client's a GD moron, right? It must be them. And it's more so saying like, as a communicator, the responsibility, does it lie on me to ensure they have an understanding, or does it lie on my client to ensure they have understanding? A lot of people are like, well, if they don't understand, they should just ask me another question. No, everything's my fault. And as a communicator, I'm responsible to make sure that they understand, not vice versa. It's that accountability step to make sure you're saying like, it has to land properly. And I have to sometimes reiterate it and smash it through. And that's where I really love those Loom calls, right? You get off a call with a client. It takes you, a minute, right? Like it's actually faster to send a Loom call than it is to type. I can speak at, I don't know, 500 words a minute. I speak really quickly. I can only type at 75 words a minute at the fastest, right? And I'm pretty fast at typing. So no matter how fast I am at typing, I will always be able to hit click Loom, click record, click send faster than I can. And it's more personalized when people are like, oh, there you are. Like there's an actual person. You actually took the time, you know, and little do they know, it actually took you less time, is more efficient. So I think there was either a breakdown in communication, there wasn't an explanation as to the steps or process and what to expect next. And maybe it's just an opportunity. Or maybe that guy's just an a-hole and you know what, say thanks, but no thanks. And it's, I think, better to find, you know, to steal something from my pal Gord Ross, it's better to get a quick no than a slow maybe, right? So find that out right off the bat. If they're like, I just want rates, that's all I give a shit about. Listen, that's dangerous. I don't know why you're just doing that. I would like to invest and spend my time. But if you don't want that, I recommend you go elsewhere, because it doesn't sound like you want to be our next 5-star client. If you do want to be that and have that experience, then no, hold my hand with you. Let's go through this.
I think that's good. Is where I instill confidence by being confident. And so I think that you said earlier, when I'm a victim and I'm like you and I we always, sometimes we text back and forth with seeing some of the chatter in the online space where it's like somebody's going on and on about, I can't believe this customer did this to me because I spent so much time with them and then they went to their bank because of this. And oh my God, I can't believe what they did to me, which I'm a victim. And the truth is that I obviously did something that I wasn't tight enough to get them to not do that. Here's what and that's why I was earlier in the sales process. There's only 2 times that a customer is going to shop me. Right before they've even talked to me, or at the very beginning, which I can flush out when I do my discovery call, and I can handle that objection and tell them I'm going to compare to what they have in my compare. Boom, handle. They don't shop anymore. The only other time they're going to shop is in the process when they feel not confident or they feel like they don't have the information. That's the only time. Like, people don't like to shop. It's work. Like, if it's going nice and my process is tight, I have all the information I need, and you've been very upfront with me, I'm not shopping. And so and so many times you see people that lost the deal halfway through or at the end, and it's because there was bottlenecks in your process, you didn't provide enough information, or God forbid, you didn't show them options that compared against the thing that they were had. So anyways, we'll probably beat that horse to death. Christina, what's the next question?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I love this question, actually. It's come through from Colton, and I think it's a James or Greg question. If you don't love your process because it is dictated by the brokerage underwriting service that you use, ... should we focus on building out our own client experience, or should we use that extra time that the brokerage underwriting service gives us to be looking for more customers that will eventually be subjected to a subpar process? What's more important?
Man, that's a gooder. That's a gooder.
If you want to start swearing and cursing, Greg, you want to take this so I don't get...
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, look, it's an interesting question, because the reason I've always been an advocate for saying, look, if I'm newer in the industry or I'm building my business, I need to focus on building my business, which means I got to be, and by the way, people love this, love to hate me when I do this, but it's like, if I'm new in the business, the number one place I go is build my realtor team. I know everybody's saying, oh, I don't like dealing with realtors, but if I'm newer in the business, that building over there is where deals are done 365 days a year. That's where I start. But anyway, so I should focus my time on building the business. But when I get to a point where I've got a consistent enough of business coming in, I don't think I want to use somebody else's underwriting process, particularly if I think it's not good. And with Finmo, I can get away with I can delay the hiring of an assistant because so many things are automated. Or I can get an assistant that maybe I share with 2 other people in my brokerage that does the process the way that I want to do it. And my colleagues that we decided to share, they do it. And I think that would be the key. And people always go to, well, I can't afford an assistant. It's a mindset shift. It's a victim mindset. Instead of saying I can't afford this, I go to, what do I need to do in order to afford it? And you know what? I need to do 5 more deals a year to pay for that assistant. So, okay, can I go get 5 more deals in a whole year because I have this process? That's the mindset shift that I have, and then I take it. So that's the way I would answer that. Good question, though.
Great. Thanks, Greg. I think I'll toss another one your way. Has anyone used Blue Mortgage for their CRM? I know they have a Finmo integration. And how does this compare to Pipedrive and Zapier?
Good. So yeah, I mean, Blue Mortgages is, remember I said earlier, there's two parts. There's deal management and there's post-funding communication. Blue Mortgage will do both of those for you in one package. Now, remember, every time I have a lot of things in one package, it's going to be a little bit more complex, and it's going to take me some learning, and it's going to take me some customization. So if you're up for that, it's a great tool. If you want, James uses Pipedrive, I use Pipedrive, for the deal management section because it's simple. Like, I mean, look, how fast were we up and running and using Pipedrive and built our process out using their help videos. So and then Finmo Drive. So that I think either one of those options can work very well for you.
Perfect. All right. This question came in while Martin was speaking, but I think it might be more for James and Greg. So I'll just toss it out to the group. What do you do if a current deal is insured/insurable and then client sells and wants to port their mortgage to a property that is over 1 million?
I mean, it's going to depend on who the client's with on the lender perspective, and it's such a different landscape right now. So there's going to be a lot of different answers onto that as to when the mortgage was obtained and who the lender that they're with and their existing term, their breakage. It's a very deal specific one. I don't really think I get into more detail on that one. I will say there's a lot of great online forums. Hopefully if you're working with a brokerage, you've got a great broker of record or someone that can help you kind of go through those ones as well. It's super deal specific.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll just jump in on that if it was directed at Radius. It's not something that we're able to do right now because we're focused right now. Our products that we're able to offer is insured or insurable. So once we do fund a mortgage under $1 million and then the client wants to purchase over $1 million, that now becomes uninsurable. So it wouldn't be a fit, to be honest, for Radius at this moment. That answers the question.
Yeah, I think Yeah, I mean, you guys covered that. I mean, listen, James knows all the product knowledge and that, so we can move on.
Perfect. And the questions keep coming in. So I'm going to keep going for a couple more minutes. Maybe we'll call it at the bottom of the hour. But Greg.
Christina, sorry to interrupt you. I also have a question that was emailed to me, so I'm going to cover that off too.
Yeah, please do.
Oh, you want me to do that now? Oh.
Yeah, go for it.
Oops. Let me get ready. I'm curious about the security provided by Lendesk/Finmo. I do like that you're independent of any network. My motto has always been do what you do best. Don't try something you aren't good at. Networks are trying to dominate the tech field. To me, this makes no sense. About their investment in tech. I'm just kind of skimming. This was an email I just received from DLC. This person must be with DLC. So it has come to our attention there's been a recent increase in phishing emails being sent out to our network. And so, yeah, this is a really interesting one. I say this all the time. Aside from the things that I said, it's convenient and efficient to use smart docs, it's also safer. Like in today's world, there is like for example, velocity. I mean, if there isn't a ability for the customer to log in with a password to get into the place where all of their data and documents are, it's a hard stop. Because it's in 2021, you as a small boutique business, James, what would it be like if in Burlington the headlines were, your mortgage database was hacked and people have all of their data and all of their documents? I mean, that wouldn't be super good for a small boutique business. So why even?
Nope, because I'd be right online, I'm sure. Right at the top, yeah.
I mean, it's not super good. I mean, listen, phishing is on the rampage. I mean, how many times has any of us on social media got a text from a friend that says, "Oh, I was hacked. Don't open that thing." You probably weren't hacked. You were probably phished. And so this can happen in email, like so much. So, I mean, listen, it's 2021. Customers should not be emailing documents back and forth. Brokers should not be storing documents on their hard drive. If you download it, delete them afterwards. I mean, this is base level stuff that's really, really important. Security is a big deal, and you ought to take it seriously. So anyway, yeah, Christina, you go on to the question.
Sounds great. I'll cut it off with this last question. For everyone on the line, thank you for we'll have one more question after this, but just wanted to say, if you have a burning question that we weren't able to get to, please just email me at marketing@lendesk.com and I'll make sure your question gets answered, because there's just so many good ones here that I don't want to miss anyone's. But last question from Bryce on the topic of smart docs. In the situation when Finmo is used to collect docs upfront, what are your suggestions for the clients who decide to purchase 6 months later? Request all the updated documents required again via Finmo, manually, or other?
All day long. Why would you do such an awesome process and then just change? And I see this all the time. And we were falling folly to it. This was on our last process review, I don't know, 6 months ago or 7 months ago. And it's one of those like aha moments where it was like, well, someone's purchasing, we do it and we use Finmo, but if they're existing client refinancing, then we'll just copy it over here and then email it to them. Like, wait, so buyers get this awesome secure process and people that are refinancing get this other one? Or, you've used Finmo to do the collection of information documents and you got your approval, and then a few other documents are needed. And then I'll just email it over to them. It's like, put yourself in the client's shoes. You just taught me this awesome process. I know how to log in, because you can do it with Facebook or Google or whatever to get back in. But now you're telling me to do it a different way. I've already been trained. I already know this way. I would be more than comfortable in expecting it to be done into there. And let's be honest, like, it goes into there. You can say like it needs attention. It's been declined, needs, or it's been accepted, and the clients can see that. You can click to notify them. Be consistent. If you start this way, finish this way. Don't start and then just go off the tracks, right? Like, it's that consistency. And I was falling folly to it. I know people in our mastermind and such were. So it was a good time for us to sit on the other side of the desk, go through the process, and just stay consistent. I know it's hard, but make those rules. If you're going to be refinancing, put them back in Finmo. If they're existing client, copy them in Finmo. Buying, switching, whatever. Just keep that consistency there and be true to what you said it's going to be.
Yeah, I'll add to this because this is for Martin. And I realize, Martin, this is typically out of the lender's hands, but I know you could go talk to the funders and the investors. But, geez, for the love of God, we got to get rid of the employment letter. So, listen, that's the one thing that, when I'm doing all my documents up front, and I've often worked with my smart docs on this, because I don't want the customer to have to go get an employment letter when I know that they're 3 or 4 or 5 months away, because I know I'm going to have to do it again. And that is, man, if I give you a pay stub, and even more so if I give you bank statements that prove to you that the money's going, why the hell do you need an employment letter? Like, I'm done with this. The friction is ridiculous. It's hard for the customer. It's hard for me as a mortgage broker, and it's prone to fraud. And frankly, I don't even see why it's value to you as a lender. So you, Martin, take this to the employee suggestion box and go back and tell them you don't want employment letters anymore, because that will make things better for you and for me.
Oh yeah,
Put this in your smart docs, put it into there. Just put in your notes like tips. And I think it's about setting precedents, setting expectations, and reasonable to say employment letters are only good for 30 days. If it expires, you may need another one. Before you whine, bitch, and complain like a little baby, it took you 3.5 seconds to ask your HR, can I get a letter? Send. Like, oh no, I have to spend 1 minute to do that same thing again. Like, come on, get that. Like, let's call it close.
James, don't let Martin off the hook here.
Martin, that was it for you.
Don't let Martin off the hook.
Yeah.
Martin,
I think
employee suggestion box, Martin. Employee suggestion box. We got to get rid of this.
So what I'll tell you, Greg, if you have an outdated letter, let's just say you have a recent pay stub and you have a recent bank statement and you have, let's say, a T4, that should be sufficient enough for some lenders to accept, even if the letter is dated 60 days ago. Everybody wants 2 pieces of 2 pieces of documentation within 30 days. But there should be some room for flexibility. If you have a recent pay stub, recent verbal, bank statements, you shouldn't need an extra letter like that's dated 90 days ago. So
look at this guy. This is great. Another check mark for Radius. Hey, listen, I don't have to get another employment letter. Wow, I like this.
Yeah, 2 pieces is key, though. That's very important, right? You need the 2 pieces of.
Perfect. He cut off. That's it. No, Radius doesn't need a second.
I can't hear him anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, I'll get you the pay stub and I can get you bank statements.
Right, they're going to come with the down payment anyways, right? So you'll have the kind of the 2 pieces. You have a T4 if for some reason a lot of brokers ask for all the documents up front. So most brokers that ask for as much documentation up front, they're actually in a better position to satisfy with what they have rather than going back to the client. So I think it's important with as much up front as possible. I know it's not always easy. Again, I'm speaking from the lender perspective and not from the broker's perspective, because we know how challenging it is. But 2 pieces is usually key for most lenders, I would say.
Perfect. Okay, so Christina, I think I'll wrap it up with one of the questions was a status of our NOA feature, which so I would tell you, for those of you still on, hey, man, geez, everybody stayed on. That's great. Thank you very much. That's really nice. So our NOA feature is coming with our direct submission to lenders. So which we are currently in beta. James is on the beta, and he can tell you he is submitting deals to lenders.
Awesome.
And without the need to push to Filogix. And so we're working with our beta team to make sure that we've got that stable and solid, so that we would just the Finmo way. But coming with that is also going to be NOA pulls and within Finmo, as well as really slick, I think, compliance feature and MVP direct. So I mean, there's just a lot coming in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. And really, honestly, stay tuned, because we are going to open up the beta again shortly. You're going to see a video from me where people can volunteer to come in for the next round of beta, for the next round of lender submissions. So things are happening fast. Remember what we've always said too, is that the platform that I pick is the one that I'm convinced will continue to innovate and will continue to be the features that I know that will support my business. And there's no question that Finmo, backed by Lendesk, has proven that we will do that. So thank you so much for coming. This was hey, James, our first, it's great. This is the start of, maybe we should do this more often, because that was super fun. Martin, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You were awesome. And thank you for taking the ribbing. You're a good sport. But you know what? I didn't know some of those things about Radius, so I'm super glad that we did that. So you know what? Really, kudos to you. And of course, our lovely hostess, Christina. Thank you so much for all the work that you did, keeping us all on track. Left to our own devices, James and I surely would have screwed this up. So we definitely needed you. So thank you for that. And the rest of you, thanks for coming, and we'll see you later.
Have a great day, everyone.
Much. Take care, guys.